The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go? This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Dorian Yates, the British former professional bodybuilder who was crowned the Mr. Olympia champion an incredible 6 consecutive times from 1992 to 1997. You are widely considered to be one of the top athletes in bodybuilding history, as well as one of the most popular guests ever on London Real. You were the feature of our very first documentary film, Dorian Yates, Inside the Shadow, and also appear in our latest documentary film, Reconnect, where I drink the psychedelic plant medicine ayahuasca and revisit traumas from my past. Both films are available free to watch on our website at londonreal.tv. Dorian, throughout the coronavirus pandemic and lockdown, you have been outspoken about the mainstream media and given guidance on how to maintain physical and mental health. Dorian, welcome back to London Real.
Thanks for having me back again, Brian, in unprecedented and very strange times.
It is indeed. You know, before we get going, I just wanted to announce to everybody that we are streaming now on our brand new Digital Freedom platform, which is a censorship-free, independent broadcasting system that is of the people, by the people, for the people, and it's available exclusively through our website at londonreal.tv. I just would ask everyone watching this right now to share this via a link on the sidebar to any and all of their social media channels. And let me just repeat that. Can everyone watching now please share this link via the sidebar to any and all of their social media channels? This is important. Simply ask your friends and family to give us 15 minutes and then they can decide for themselves. Dorian, I'll pledge to you and everyone watching that none of this conversation will be edited, censored, removed, or banned, and that anyone in the world can watch the full version of this free at londonreal.tv/Yates. Thanks to the generous donations of over 27,000 people around the world, also known as the London Real Army. For anyone wanting to become a founding member of the Digital Freedom platform, they can go to londonreal.tv/freedom to donate and fight with us on the front lines to protect our human rights. Here at London Real, we've been a platform for free speech since 2011. And Dorian, I'm super excited to have you here today. So welcome on the show, and nice t-shirt.
Thanks. You like that? I'll get you one if you like. Look at that, London Real Army.
That's nice.
And I still almost fill out a XX.
Hey, there you go, right? You know, Dorian, I was looking through our history. I mean, wow, it's been over 7 years that you've been a major part of this show. January 7th, 2013 was your first episode, which just blew everyone away. You know, really kind of put us on the map to a large extent. August 2015, you came back like almost a completely different guy. And again, that episode just went completely viral. A year later, you invited us down to your home in Marbella, where you are now, and we filmed the documentary. February 2017, we premiered that at BAFTA. You wore a suit. It was crazy. That was an amazing night. I still just remember that fondly. Your daughter was there. Then in October 2018, you came back on the show for a third time. And then last year, you were in London, and we filmed for Reconnect. You know, Dorian, you're always getting me to consider alternate points of view that I never would have thought of. If it wasn't for you, David Icke wouldn't be on this show. Let's be real. You were always telling me about David back in the day when I thought he was crazy. You were always talking about vaccines back when I thought that was crazy. You've always encouraged me to experience and think about different points of view. So I really appreciate you, Dorian. You've always been ahead of your time. And first of all, thanks for that. And I'd love to get your take on all of this stuff going on.
Well, I don't know, man. Sometimes I think I'm in a bad disaster movie or a Twilight Zone or something. It's a real strange feeling. And obviously being, you know, I like to know what's going on always. And the picture I'm getting from what's going on and the picture that I'm seeing in the media, it's two totally different pictures. And I keep finding and seeing more information and think, wow, that's great. That's going to come out now. Like the doctors in California that did the survey, and you know, they tested, I don't know how many people it was, thousands or whatever, but they did a sample of the population, tested them, saw how many people were positive. There was a certain percent, I don't know, it was like 15% or whatever. So divided that by the number of deaths and came up with a calculation that was a death rate of 0.03, just like the flu. Wow, that's great. That's going to come out now. Well, I didn't see it anywhere, and then I see their videos taken down. So it seems to be like any kind of information that's really challenging the official narrative is being censored, is being taken down. So we're losing our freedom of speech. And the question is, why are they being taken down? But in my mind, when they're taking the information down, then there's something there you need to look at. It's almost like a validation. Wow, you must have touched a nerve there, otherwise they wouldn't take that down. Because I don't hear anybody saying, let's go out on the streets and riot, let's go burn down 5G towers, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, I can understand that might be something you might want to censor, but nobody's saying that. It's just a flow of information. And without the correct information, you can't get a perspective, you can't get a good view on the situation. So it's hampering people getting a handle on the situation. If they're only exposed to the state media, I mean, I guess this is like the way it was in Soviet Russia or communist China. I mean, believe it or not, we're there, we're almost there, right? This happened in, how long? 2 months. This whole situation's evolved in 2 months. So as far as the virus, is there a virus? Is there not a virus? Is a virus something that's generated inside your own body, inside the cells, which is something I was not familiar with, but I understand there's a school of thought out there that is the case. And I don't know, man. I don't know. But it's been interesting. I never read about a virus before. Why would I? But when this whole thing came up, I started doing some reading and researching, and the strange coincidence, or there are no coincidences, actually, but we could call it coincidence, is that as you got David Icke on London Real and started, you know, he started sharing his information, and whether I believe all that or not, it's irrelevant. And I'm doing my own research. I'm like, hey, Brian, pestering you. You should get this guy on now. Dr. Bhuta, you should get him on there. And it's great. He's spreading a lot of great information. Yeah, I know. I got him on. Then I thought, oh, Brian, you should get this Judy Mikovits on the show. I didn't even need to message you. I saw that she's the next guest you're getting on there. So you're getting great information out on London Real. That's great. More people are becoming aware and waking up. But still a lot of people are just, you know, they're just hypnotized by the media and the story they're giving, which is untrue in many ways. And we know that because people are talking out. Doctors are talking out. Nurses are talking out. Even under duress. I know that, you know, I don't know if it's all the hospitals. There have been some hospitals that have had to sign an agreement that don't talk about this outside the hospital. Why would you do that? Why would you have to sign that agreement? What is it so scary that you can't talk about? Then we've seen stories about hospitals being, you know, inundated, overloaded, the staff can't handle it, and we've even seen stuff on the TV. I saw a hospital in New York, and I think it was in Queens, where there was a story about the truck. You know, refrigerated truck has to take bodies out in body bags. There's so many bodies, and well, people have got phones now, and they've got cameras on their phones. It's not like before where we're just going to look what's on TV and take it for granted. So the very same day, people are going out in Queens and filming a hospital, and it's empty. It's like a ghost hospital. Nobody's there. So there's two different. There's reality and there's a story coming from the media, which is designed to scare people, and it's done a pretty good job, man.
Do you think that this is something that's going to actually propel us forward? Do you think we're all going to get more aware and get more conscious because of this? Or do you think this kind of oppression of freedom of speech and oppression of
Well, it is
information?
oppression of freedom of speech, yeah.
Yeah.
But what's the effect going to be? It's almost like I feel like the energy has been changing on this planet. So many more people kind of getting aware, getting in touch with spirituality and more in touch with nature. So there's an awakening going on. And there's a negative force or forces that have been kind of controlling stuff on this planet for a long time. And I actually believe they're losing their grip a little bit. I mean, you know, the guy behind the curtain, hey, we can see you, buddy. We can see you, you know? So, you know, some days I'm feeling great, I'm feeling positive, and I'm feeling like I'm remembering a story. I don't know where it came from, but there's a story I told my last group when we were at Soltara, which is, you know, you've been to Soltara. So I have a group out there once a year, and we do the ceremonies, and we share a lot how we're feeling, and we're talking. And I said, I feel like right now, maybe I was inspired, you know, you're in that space, you've had the medicine and everything. I said, I feel right now like we're on the planet and we're going into a new time that'll be much better. But it's going to be like childbirth. Childbirth is painful, is messy, there's blood, there's shit, but what comes from the childbirth? Something beautiful, something new life. So some days I think like that, and I've got faith in that, and I'm putting my energy into that. And some days I just feel overwhelmed with like what's going on, and I can see what certain powers that are trying to do, and it's almost like you can see a train coming, and you want to tell everybody, "Hey, there's a fucking train coming, man! Stop sitting on the tracks," and they're just sitting there. So some days I feel good, some days I feel bad, but I'm keeping faith in this. It's just boiling. It's bringing all the shit to the surface. It was happening before this coronavirus. Things were going on that were unusual. The thing with Epstein, and you know, stuff coming out about pedophilia and worse than that. And of course, David Icke had been talking about that for years. I remember one of the first books I read of David, and it was talking about an eyewitness that had seen Edward Heath, that's a former prime minister, who was a prime minister when I was a kid, saw him raping and sacrificing a child. And I was, wow, that's far out stuff, man. When you first read it, I don't know about this, it's crazy. But I just remembered that because I saw a podcast a couple of weeks ago by a guy that was head of, I don't know what department it was in Scotland Yard, but that was the department he was in, investigating child abuse crimes and so on. He told a story about the policemen that were outside Downing Street when Edward Heath was in power, and they were saying that there was a delivery of 8-year-old boys going there like 3 or 4 times a week. And this guy found out a lot of stuff, but he was told basically, you can't say this, you got to stand down. So a lot of stuff is coming out. Prince Andrew stepped down from the royal family because of his association with Epstein. Ricky Gervais made a very, you know, it was meant to be like a roasting. I guess it was humorous, but what he said at the Golden Gloves, I mean, that would have never been said before. So there's like cracks.
Yeah.
The truth is like seeping through the cracks, and I'm hoping that that is like a crack in the dam. That, you know, the crack will get bigger, and at some point, the water or the truth just starts flowing out, and people can see it. I think more people can see it now than they could before, just because the situation doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and they start asking questions.
I think we also have a pause. So before, you're so worried about getting the paycheck and
Yeah.
getting to Friday night and having some drinks and all these other things that, like you said, you hear things about Epstein or you hear things about control or censorship or technology, and you just think maybe, but I got to focus on my own needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the way life has got us, man. Like a hamster running on a wheel. And, if it's not in front of your face and doesn't really affect you, you hear these things, but who knows? And then you're back to your life. Now everybody's kind of stuck at home, and they got time to think,
Yeah,
the
and
time to
feel.
research.
Yeah, and kind of use
Researching is getting difficult now.
it is. I mean, I've spoken with.
I was flicking through Facebook earlier on, and I was like, any video that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to watch it, I clicked on it, and it had been taken down. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Let me look at that. That'll be interesting. No, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. So I think people have to ask why that's happening. It's, information. If you don't have the information, there's very little you can do.
Yeah, there's a lot of cleaning going on out there. I mean, after speaking with Judy Mikovits and Buttar and a few other doctors, they said that 7, 8 years ago there was all this information publicly available about Gates and about the vaccines. They said now you go to search, it's just gone. It's been cleaned off the web, and so all this stuff is being taken down. And I go like you, Dorian. I have good days and bad days. Some
I
days
sent a
I
message
feel
to
good.
Bill Gates. They took that down as well.
Which one?
I sent a message to Bill Gates on his Instagram, along with a lot of other people, basically to say what I said earlier on. Hey, we can see you, man. We can see you. We can see what you are, and we call you out. So apparently they've all been taken down.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are wise. And Bill Gates is a front guy for this whole agenda to vaccinate the world. He already killed and damaged a lot of people in India with his vaccines. So probably shouldn't be listening to this guy.
Yeah, it's like I like you have great days and bad days. I have a great day when we did Ike 8 days ago on May 3rd, and it was this bigger than I expected live stream, 1.3 million people live watching this guy, and the crazy thing is I mean, nobody would have watched probably me interview anyone else in the world. I could have interviewed President Obama and it wouldn't have done those numbers. There's like people tuned in to hear something they were told they shouldn't be listening to. So, and people were inquisitive and curious for the first time, right? People that would have turned on a football game watched this instead. So that makes me feel great. But then the next day, every single one of my Ike videos is completely removed from YouTube. So it's like all this stuff is really frustrating for me, for a person that's been putting out content like your interviews here, that I don't know, maybe that stuff won't be there next week. And it's frustrating because most people won't search any further than YouTube. And if all the information's gone from YouTube, they'll never have these conversations. So that's frustrating.
Well, that's why it's being done, right?
Yeah.
They don't want the information to get out of there. So if there's information they don't want to get out there, you've got to try and ask yourself why that is and see if you can find it some other way. And, thanks God you got the platform where you can put out the information, you can keep it there and people can go watch it and so on. You got to keep pushing, man. Got to keep fighting and hoping more and more people are going to get aware, because it's just a tipping point, a matter of enough people becoming aware and saying, hey, this is not what I want. This is not the future I want. And not to say the world was perfect as it was. So there's always a good and a bad side to everything. Maybe we need this whole reset to think about a lot of stuff. And even we have to face ourselves more in this situation, because we're here, we're sitting with ourselves, right? Now we're not running around and doing work and then socializing and drinking and doing this and that, which a lot of us do as a kind of distraction. Well, now we're going to sit with ourselves and face ourselves. And I'm a believer in the world is anyway a reflection of us, of our collective selves. So maybe there's things that we can work on ourselves and improve in ourselves, and the reflection we'll get will be better as well then.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Dorian. Um, Again, like David has a lot of fascinating theories. I don't always agree with all of them, but every year more and more of them come true. Uh, but
Here's the thing, Brian. I mean, theories, conspiracy theories. Where does this term come from? I believe it comes from the CIA,
yeah,
conspiracy theories,
yeah,
right? So straight away, it's a derogatory term. It's putting you on the back foot. It's a theory. But I believe David and other people like they're researchers, so they look for information from here, from there, and they kind of put it together and trying to make sense out of it, connecting the dots. And I'm familiar with David's work and Jordan Maxwell and a lot of other people. But often these are whistleblowers or statements that have been made. So people talk out, but they can't talk out directly, so they'll tell somebody else.
what's it been like for you? Because I've been watching your Instagram, and I was kind of shocked that you really were on a proper house arrest down there. But what's it been like in Spain? I know the country had a lot of cases and deaths, but what's the tone been like there?
Well, I don't know how anywhere else is in Europe. I mean, I know how it is in UK because I've got friends there, I've got family there and everything. But it's pretty much like a complete police state with regulations. I mean, none of this whole thing makes sense to me. Okay, so if you're trying to think logically, you get a headache. But the regulations there are even more nonsensical. At some point, we were not allowed to go out at all, except to the gas station, the supermarket, or a medical appointment. Not only that, you're not allowed to travel in the car with your wife. So, I live with my wife. So if we're in the car together with the doors closed, I mean, I don't get it. How is that a threat to anybody? My neighbor who runs a restaurant here, he got €1,500 fine the other day for traveling in a car with his wife. And of course, you got certain people who put on this fancy dress, these uniforms, and gives them a sense of authority and so on. And it's not like the UK either, where you could take out your phone and film just to record the situation so you can see what's going on and got a record of it. You can't do that here, and they can get pretty aggressive if you try as well. Now we have a little bit more freedom. So again, nonsensical to me. You're allowed to exercise from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10. So you can go out now. I can go out and ride my bike, which is great. And you can do it in the evening. I think it's from 8 to 11 or 7 to 10 as well. But in the daytime, you can't. In the daytime, there's families allowed with their kids or older people on different time slots. I'm not really sure what it is. And we were supposed to be moving to a different phase. This is phase 0, which has now been, it's been 8 weeks, man. 8 weeks, and the first 6 weeks of that, you're just not allowed to leave your house except for these essential reasons. Perhaps I didn't exactly follow all the rules, Brian, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. And we were supposed to be moving to second phase this week, where certain small businesses could open or restaurants could open with whatever, 30 or 50% capacity and all kind of regulations. So then they decided not to do that and push it back until, I don't know when, another couple of weeks. So some parts of Spain now moved to phase 1. My area where I live, for reasons unknown to me, is still on phase 0. So we're still stuck here after 8 weeks. I got a friend in China, Tom in China. He got a DY gym there in China. So I've been out there before to the gym and everything, see him. And he was locked down less than that. 6 weeks, he was out, sending me pictures from the beach. The gym's open. So, yeah, it's very, very draconian. And I don't know how I feel about staying here when this whole thing's over, if and when it is over. I'll have to see how I feel, man. But it's not been a good feeling. And a lot of people, are really intimidated. Even when they could go out, people are saying to me, I know I can go out now, but somehow I feel like nervous. I feel like I look over my shoulder like I might be doing something wrong by walking down the street. And this is a whole psychological attack on people. I feel like this whole thing is an economic and psychological attack on the people of the world by a small, very small group of people who want to advance an agenda. And part of it is traumatizing people and making them scared, because when you're scared, you'll be more obedient and easier to control.
Yeah.
So that's what I see.
They did a study here, I think last week, and survey, and they found that 68% of British people would rather lose their job than risk going outside and catching the virus. And that just boggled my mind. I mean,
you told me that, man. Kind of my heart sunk when I heard that, because I thought, man, it's got to be like at least 50-50 now. That, you know, but I move in my circle of people that I move in, that I know, and I don't know one of them that believes the official narrative. But that's just the circle I move in. Those are the people I know. Those are my friends, and my family, and everybody. I don't know anybody that's saying, "Wow, yeah, we should be scared to go outside." You shouldn't be scared to go outside. There's something out there, something undefinable, as the tests don't define anything. But maybe there's something, maybe there's some respiratory disease out there that's unique and new, and it's killing people. But how many people is it really killing? So one of the first places to get hit hard supposedly was Italy, right? It's one of the first ones, and they had 25,000 deaths. And I just saw a very impassioned politician in the Italian parliament, or whatever they call it there, I mean, screaming in this speech. So he said, so, you know, we gave all up all our rights and we walked into this authoritarian nightmare of a society because we've got to protect ourselves from this disease that's killed 25,000 people. But now we've got new figures. Now they've re-looked at the figures, and from the 25,000 people, there was something like, it was less than 1,000, like 900 and something that actually died from some respiratory disease, not from a heart attack or cancer or whatever it is. So the hospitals are labeling deaths on the certificate as COVID-19 when clearly they've died from something else. I spoke to my friend today, Simon Fan, who's a bodybuilder, right? Former bodybuilding champion in UK and gym owner, and is from Birmingham. And I saw Simon had been hospitalized with COVID-19. And he was, he was in the hospital, he was severely ill. It was touch and go whether he's going to live, and they had to put him in a coma, induced him in a coma for 3 weeks. And so, wow, I actually know somebody that's got it, and he's not an elderly person. He's a guy who follows a good diet, he's fit, and everything like this. Anyway, thankfully, Simon came through that. He survived, and quite recently, when he was well enough, because he's in a coma, so he lost a lot of muscle and had to learn to walk again and all this stuff. So I'm like, tell me, man, what's the deal? What happened? He said, so I had a severe chest infection that turned into pneumonia, and I went into hospital for pneumonia. That's why I went into hospital. That's why I was having severe trouble breathing. I wouldn't have gone to a hospital unless I was in this. I mean, I was fearing for my life, so that's why I went to hospital. I had pneumonia. And I saw him on some media somewhere, like, wow, this young, strong bodybuilder, even he got it, like, and he sent me the paperwork. I got it here. Just a minute, I have to go off airplane mode. Just the paperwork, right, that from the hospital, and so how to define.
This is a real world example of someone that was actually
someone I know
reclassified.
And he said he may be going on TV. I said, well, I hope you can tell your story. And he said, I'm just going to tell the truth.
Yeah, I doubt we'll see him on TV.
I should have had this ready, but I had my phone on
That's right. We can also come back to it.
airplane mode.
But I doubt he's going to be able to get on TV and tell that story. He might be able to get on YouTube.
Well, yeah,
But it
if
might
it's
not
live,
last.
then he can say what he wants, right?
Yeah, it's
Um,
live.
Medical practitioners are required to certify causes of death to the best of their knowledge and belief without diagnostic proof. For example, if before death the patient has symptoms typical of COVID-19, well, what's that?
Yeah, just a cough
Breathing, upper respiratory problems,
or diarrhea. It could be
right?
anything.
But the test result has not been received. It would be satisfactory to give COVID-19 as the cause of death. So there you are, man. And I saw it on the US and I saw it in the UK, the very same thing. Officials from the government, they were saying the same thing. They're saying it. If you kind of take note of what they're saying. Just because it says COVID on the death certificate doesn't really mean they had COVID, because we haven't tested them yet. So I hope that the truth of all this will come out and we'll see the real numbers. And the real numbers, even if these numbers were real, which they're not, even if they were real, is it a reason to lock down the whole world? Now, I was like looking at the, I think it was a Hong Kong flu. Hong Kong flu was in 1968, right?
Yeah.
80,000 fatalities in UK. You didn't lock the whole country down. Didn't take away people's freedom to gather and to communicate and all this stuff. It's separating people, and people are very scared. I see it. I mean, sometimes I get frustrated because I see people with masks and I'm like, fuck you wearing a mask for, man? But then I'm like, okay, you can't judge them because they're just scared.
Yeah.
They're scared and uninformed, and that's the way people react. I mean, scared people can be dangerous as well. They can be aggressive because they're afraid. I mean, I've seen it. You're going to step too near to somebody in the supermarket and they're looking like, whoa, And you got physicians, you doctors like Dr. Buttar. He's saying it can't spread, it can't go through the air. And he's got hundreds of doctors behind him. There's also a lot of doctors that are just, I mean, they're, a lot of doctors are in debt. A lot of people rely on the system. A lot of people don't want to lose their jobs. So they're not speaking out. Or they just don't realize what's going on. But that's what we need, man. We need people, because we're all in this together. We're all in this together, man. Like, I don't care if you're a policeman, doctor, nurse, whatever world we're walking into, that's the world we're all living in, and that's the world your children are growing up in. So I think it's your duty to speak out if you see something that you think is not correct.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that story. And I think Elon Musk was just talking about, how the hospitals in America, they're given this big chunk of federal funding to fight the COVID-19. And so they literally will get a check every time they write a diagnosis for COVID-19, a bigger check if they put someone on a ventilator. And the problem is,
I've been told it's the same in Spain.
Right.
I don't know because I haven't read the official documents, but that's what I've been told. It's something like around about the same figures for a diagnosis. It's X amount, like, I don't know, like 10 grand. And if they're on a ventilator, then that's 40 grand. So then there's financial incentive plus pressure, and that's how it's being manipulated. So it sounds crazy, but that's where we are, man. The media's lying, people in the government are lying, and now the medical community is lying.
Yeah. And the more I research this, Dorian, and again, you were always telling me this stuff early on, and I want to talk about vaccines shortly, but you were always telling me about that stuff. And I just kind of, like most things that people tell you, you just think, yeah, because, and we'll get into vaccines, because the problem is because I have a science background, the science of vaccines is attractive to me because it makes sense, and it does make sense, but that whole science is being co-opted and weaponized. And the same thing with the fear. It's okay to be scared of a dangerous virus like Ebola, that if you're in a village, it can be transmitted through the air and maybe it kills a third of your family. But it's another thing to be in fear of something that, like you said, is a 0.03% chance of killing you.
Yeah, it's just a flu.
Yeah.
With a different name. People are probably not going to like me saying that, but that's the way I see it. It's there's always some different respiratory disease coming up. It comes, it goes, we adapt to it, and we move on. So this whole thing is not about a virus. It's not about that. That's the smokescreen. That's I got friends and I got some kids we sponsored down in Uganda. Where I went there, me and Gal went there a few years ago, trekking, and we met these people. Anyway, the point is, they're all locked down. I don't even know if they have like a couple of deaths in the whole country, but the whole country's locked down. And countries like this people are in trouble here financially already. Okay, because they live from month to month. At the end of the month, the money's out. So there's a lot of people here doing food deliveries and so on, because people have run out of money because they earn money month to month. But some people earn money day to day. Yeah, you get $1 or whatever it is, you feed your family, you go to work the next day. So the consequences of this and the consequences on the economy will surely kill more people than the virus.
Well, I was talking to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. last week, and he was saying that, some kind of, general statistics were in America, for every 1% increase in unemployment is 37,000 deaths. 4,000 people go to prison, and I think 4,000 people suffer from serious mental health. And that it's gone from 3% to 15%, and maybe is going up to 30%. So you start adding those numbers up, it's massively significant.
Like 500,000 deaths or something, easily more.
Yeah. And yet, Dorian, no one I know over here is talking about money. They're all so scared that they would still rather stay in their house than like try to get back to work. People aren't that mad that Boris hasn't really changed the lockdown. So it shows me the fear has been so weaponized that people are so scared that even the money doesn't matter. Even their financial future doesn't matter. Again, with the masks, people, like you said, scared people do strange things. I was running in the park.
It's dehumanizing.
Yeah, well, also, it kills communication.
It's dehumanizing, and it's separating.
Yeah, because you don't see facial expressions, so they look like robots. Or, who else wears masks? Bank robbers and police in riot gear, right? You do it, so there's no expression, so you can't make a connection. We can't talk to people. You can't be in the presence of people. You can't feel their energy. So, whoever came up with this, it's an incredible idea for separating us. They didn't count on things like this, digital media that can be spread without a mainstream influence. And
well, I'm sure they counted on pretty much everything.
But this seems to be working.
Interesting now, if you go back, and it really disturbed me at the time when I saw it. If you go back and look at the opening ceremony for the 2012 Olympic Games, and you rewatch that again now, man. When I watched it at first, I remember watching it with Gal, and I said, this is disturbing me. There's something very dark about this whole ceremony. And I think we're supposed to be celebrating the NHS. Well, you go back and watch it, man, you can see little demons or whatever they are, or virusy bugs or something chasing kids across the hospital beds. The nurses are dancing. What are we seeing now, man? We're seeing these such busy hospitals that the nurses have got time to make, they do great coordinated dances sometimes. It just took a bit of practice to do that. And then who have we got in one of the beds with his floppy blonde hair from side to side in the bed? We've got Mr. Boris Johnson. And we've got a colored kind of circle that the people made that looks very much like, one of those round animations of a virus. So, go back and watch it, man. It's strange.
I'm going to go watch it. But I actually remember it because I remember it being kind of disturbing. Because it was a night ceremony, wasn't it? Wasn't it done at night?
Yeah, and there was a big black, I don't know what looks like the Grim Reaper or something that was not looking good. That was kind of hanging over the whole proceedings. And I noticed I got at home like Apple TV, you know, you get all the movies, top 40, 50 movies or something like that. I'm a bit of a movie guy. I like to watch movies. So I noticed as soon as this situation started, like every virus outbreak, contagion movie, there was like 5 or 6 of them up there in the top 50. So I don't know how they select that, whether it's just what people watch and people were, you know, watching this again. But it's kind of like a predictive programming. Everybody's watched one of those movies where the whole world is being ravaged by this virus and everyone's dying. And I kind of feel like people are like living that out in their minds sometimes. You know, that fear is predictive programming. They kind of predict, you to get things in your mind. Because if all our thoughts are creating reality, and they can implant a thought, when the situation comes along, we'll just help it come along further. I remember noticing that, I'm like, why is this happening? I don't know. I was not, you know, really that into whatever you want to call it, conspiracies and so on. I watched Independence Day and Will Smith was the president. Then I watched another TV series and there was another black actor who was the president. And there's another one, and there's a black guy as the president. And then on the scene came Obama and the whole thing with getting Obama in there. So that was strange.
You know, well, I think all of our search results and like you said, the pre-programming of everything we watch, I mean, there's a lot of control in there that we don't realize. And that's the thing. I was speaking with Robert Spalding and he said, this is an information war, unlike any war we've ever fought, where there's the enemy, they're trying to kill me. In this information war, you don't know that you're at war, first of all. Second of all, you don't know who the enemy is. And the things you think are your friends, you know, your Facebook profile with your family is serving you up things that you don't even know are a agendaed reality. And that's what's happening. So,
well, the thing is, I think we're way more powerful than we know.
yeah.
Yeah, if we get together and our thoughts are very powerful, and the controlling group or whatever you want to call this dark group of people, it doesn't matter. It's about energy in the end. You know, it's a negative and a positive. They know that. That's why we're so, you know, they're doing everything to suppress us, especially now because people have been awakening for the last, I don't know, like last 20 years. 10 years, even more. Like it's really accelerating.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.